ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here, bringing you the first set of SKT1 versus KT Rolster. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be doing this entire series. This should be a ton of fun. KT Rolster is totally on fire at the early parts of the season, and SKT1 is the champions from last year, still playing very, very well this season. KT Rolster has been riding Flash off his undefeated record. Flash is undefeated so far this year in the Pro League, which is just ridiculous. Something like 10-0 or some obscene number that's just really pretty much unfair to the rest of the world. And then Luxury is completely rejuvenated after last season's complete slump. He is just absolutely dominating players left and right. And, you know, it's awesome because KT Rolster is not built like Wasangaz anymore. They've got backups to their top player. Luxury is playing very, very well. Violet is playing pretty solidly as well. So KT is looking really good. This, however, is going to be Hoejja for KT and Fantasy for SKT1. SKT1 really needs Fantasy to do well, and he always does. He's been performing for quite some time now. Fantasy and Bisu are the rocks of SKT1, leading that team to victory over and over again. When you have two players that are ace quality on any other team, doesn't matter what team they were on, if any of them got moved around, they would both still be possible aces for every single team in the league. That's how good they are. And it is just such a luxury. Luxury's on KT, but it's a luxury for SKT1 for them to have both of these players and to be able to alternate them in ace matches and do as they wish. Really, it's really quite awesome. And you can't forget how good Hoejja has been playing. Obviously, versus other matchups, he's kind of bad, but versus Zerg, Hoejja has been doing very well. And in this new era where we've seen so many Zergs getting double play times and a lot of Zerg favorite maps, Hoejja being a good, really good ZVZer is pretty awesome. Taking down Jaedong and Effort in 1 week is quite an impressive task. And so you know, SKT1 is looking really, really good. KT Rolster is looking really, really good, and I think this is the #1 matchup so far in the early stages of this Pro League season, and it's round 1. It's absolutely awesome to see this kind of match. This game is going to be on match point. It looks like both players are going for pretty standard openings. Fantasy is walling off, and it looks like Hoejja was going for an overpool, maybe a 12 hatch. Couldn't tell. I saw the Overlord coming down. Couldn't see what else was going on. Probably a 12 hatch. But neither player doing anything all that intensive, creative like so far. Match point, by the way, only has 2 games played on it TVZ so far, and both of them were Ruby winning. But they weren't really against high quality players. Ruby's a solid player, but he really only beat Junie and Shark, who aren't really much of anything. So I don't know if you can really take too much away from that. This is going to be Hoejja is a good player. On the other hand, you know, Hoejja actually has done well against SKT1 in the past. He's beaten Best. He in the Winners League last year, he beat Bisu before falling to Fantasy. So if Hoejja can get a win here against Fantasy, that'd be really nice for him to say that he's beaten all 3 of the top players for SKT1. If you still consider Best to be one of their top players on the or Hoejja, depending upon which one of them you really consider. Best has been traditionally the better one over the course of the last couple years, but over the last over the last month or so, it's been Hoejja's Best. Kind of been in kind of a slump recently. But all these players we will be seeing, every single player I've talked about, we will be seeing Fantasy here, Bisu in the next set, Best in the one after that, and then Hoejja in the final match. You know, Luxury, Flash, Violet are all playing here, and it looks like Fantasy is getting the scout off here, and I believe that was a 12 hatch for Hoejja, and he is getting his layer up as well. He's actually scouting out this 1 Rax into CC build pretty well. It looks like that refinery is down there pretty early, so we could be seeing 1 Fact CC into, no, maybe not too early. We see a medic out as well, so this is going to be a bio build at least to start. Otherwise, what would be the point of medics, right? That SCV is doing a great job dodging a couple of these little Zerglings that are trying to take it down, and getting a good scout off, seeing that layer, looking for any other tech. I think he's hoping to keep that thing alive long enough that he'll be able to catch a Spire or a Hydralisk then. But I don't think he's really going to be all that successful. I suspect Hoejja will produce another egg or 2 of Zerglings pretty shortly, just to make sure that SCV goes down. Doesn't want to risk that. And actually, he did put the Spire down. If that SCV went south any farther, yes, the Sunken Colony would have killed it, but he would have gotten absolutely incredibly valuable information in seeing that Sunken Colony, or I'm sorry, the Spire. A couple Firebats pushing out right now for Fantasy, but I think the Overlord for Hoejja scouted that out, and Hoejja already has a Sunken Colony in there. He's got a second Creep Colony going down, so he'll have 2 Sunken Colonies, which is going to be more than enough to deal with. a couple of fire bats. A couple Zerglings here as well. I believe they've taken down the scouting SCV for Fantasy, and this is really odd. I don't know if I've ever seen a 2 Firebat push from a Terran player before. It's kind of odd to me. It's not going to be very successful at all. He's just going to have to turn around as soon as he sees the sunken colonies. So he moves north. Okay, he's not moving north. He's going to move south. Maybe he was suspecting that there was like a 3 hatchery build coming out, and he's going towards the 3rd base right now. But that's kind of an odd path to take. If you look at match point, you can, there's a better route to get to the 3rd. Well, actually, it looks like he's just wandering around with those fire bats. But where he's going right now, he could have taken that into a more direct route if he wanted, but not a big deal here. It looks like they're just going to be scouting out, not really pushing into the main at all. More Marines being produced. I believe 2nd and 3rd racks have already gone down for Fantasy, and that Spire is just complete, so we should be seeing 9 Mutalisks, I believe. I think he had the 3rd hatchery up as well, so we should be seeing somewhere close to 9 Mutalisks popping out now. Turrets are coming up, so turrets will be in time. Fantasy timing this out pretty darn well, and he's going to have turrets all over his natural, should have some turrets all over his main as well, and should be able to create his little cordon as he wishes, his defensive network. And we'll see how good Hoejja's Mutalisk micro is, whether he's really able to take down some of these turrets and do a whole lot of damage. These turrets are definitely going to be in time. 2 turrets already up at the natural, 2 more going up. At the main, they haven't given a really good look at it, but I suspect that there's turrets already up. And here come the Mutalisks, going to pick off a couple of these fire bats that went to the bottom right-hand corner. Hoejja was paying attention, did see that these things went down into that area, and he is going to pick them off, just getting a couple free kills here, which is always useful. It doesn't look like the main has that many turrets. There's one at the choke between the main and the natural, and one kind of close to the mineralized, but doesn't look like there's a ton of turret coverage there at the main. It looks like he's focusing more on the natural, because obviously with that cliff back there, it can be more easily abused, whereas to get quote-unquote behind the mineral lines of the main, there's kind of the edge of the screen, so it's kind of hard to micro back there. So that's why we're seeing more of a focus here on the natural. And it does take down one SCV, taking a few shots from some of those missile turrets, and also because of the network that he's produced here. Look where his Marines are. He's able to defend from that one location. He can really go and stim right into Mutalisks if they do try to go into the main, and that's what he's going to try and do. Going to try and catch some of these Mutalisks, and he does get a few shots here. The Mutalisks do get another kill, I believe, off a gas SCV, but not doing a whole lot of damage here so far. Putting on a little bit of early pressure, killing a couple SCVs, hasn't lost any Mutalisks, but unable to really do any sort of critical damage here. Unable to really take down any missile turrets or really even do any damage to Marines yet. He may want to try and pick off some of these Marines as they come down that ramp. Marines tend to have problems as they come down in ramps in groups, and you can kind of catch them by surprise. He did get one Marine there, going to catch a couple more of the Marines there. So we caught a few Marines there, not taking too much damage on his Mutalisks. As long as he can keep those Marine numbers low, he can it'll keep his Mutalisk effectiveness up, and it'll also enable him to stop the push of Fantasy for that much longer. But we do see another group of bio forces coming out for Fantasy, and if these Mutalisks get trapped in between the 2 forces, which they are, the Mutalisks are getting trapped in between the 2 forces, and he lost 2 or 3 Mutalisks there, and also taking a couple shots from the turret. So Hoejja getting trapped in between a couple of those, getting a little mini pincer there by Fantasy, and Fantasy was able to catch a couple of those Mutalisks, able to do a decent bit of damage there. A lot of those Mutalisks are pretty heavily damaged. We also see that Hoejja has taken that base at the bottom right, throwing up the gas there as well. We'll be getting to a 3rd gas. We see some Hydras already out. Lurker aspect, if it's not completed already, it will be soon, and he will be getting Lurkers out. We see 2 Starports going down, so 2 Starports, that's gonna, I mean, if he really wants, I suppose this could be for heavy vessel play, could also be for some drop ships and vessels, could be a combination of aerial units, and I don't think he's gonna be doing that Fantasy, quote-unquote, Valkyrie Fantasy build. Obviously, it's way too late